Hello, this is LEGO's The Disney Castle, modeled after Cinderella's castle at Disney World, Florida. With over 4,000 pieces, it took me about 7 hours to build this 29-inch tall model, taking my time to do it carefully. Now, I value your time, so what I'm going to do is go through the major features and sections of this build quickly. Then, if you're still interested in watching more, I'll go back and take a more careful, close-up, casual, and slow look at some of the components that I personally find to be particularly interesting. Now, you build this thing in two major parts, the gray part and the tan part. The gray part comes first. These towers around the outside are built with a lot of large pieces down below and quite a lot of small pieces up above for the turret sections. There's actually quite a bit less repetition from one of these to the next than I expected because of subtle differences in how they're connected to the surrounding walls. The entranceway is very ornate with its finer details of architecture, but there is some stonework that looks relatively natural down around the base. Most of the decorated items that you see actually do use stickers in this set, including that plaque, but there are some parts that use prints, such as this one large wall panel piece back here and this exclusive clock that is about 7 minutes before midnight. From a higher angle, you can better see the overall shaping of the castle, which is nicely cupped around. It sticks out quite a bit. It's not at all a flat facade. From higher still, you can see a very generous mezzanine area here, and I'll give you a better look at that later on once I take off the tan section of the castle. Speaking of the tan section, there are some nice details that are usually kind of hidden behind the blue and gray spires most of the time, so it's nice that they didn't leave those just completely blank. The sheer number of different types and strategies of building techniques and parts used in this model was very impressive, but nothing felt particularly difficult to assemble per the instructions. Nothing was frustrating along the way. This was an interesting touch here with these two colorful elements that represent fireworks you can actually shoot out. They're very small though and very subtle in what they do. I particularly admire the layering of parts and textures through this section, and this is part of the tallest tower on the whole thing, which takes us up to the highest point, which has just enough room back there to barely fit one single minifigure in just one location. The top of this is a mix between gold and dark tan, but from a distance it kind of all looks gold. As you may have seen at the start when I first spun the castle around, the back of it is pretty much cut off. It's like the entire thing is just sliced right through to allow you to see the interior. I'm going to take you through this starting from the ground floor, and to allow more light to get down in there, I'm going to go ahead and remove this entire tan section, this upper section. It's fairly easy to do, just like that. The main grand lobby features a diagonally tiled floor section that is recessed down. So you see there's a bit of a step from the side. This is a sub-assembly that you actually place down onto a whole layer of plates beneath this, and it's just angled 45 degrees out. It uses some of these shield pieces that were first introduced in LEGO Nexo Knights. Hanging from the ceiling up above is a chandelier which you can spin around. On one side of the room is a very nice and large vase with some flowers in it, and this is a reference to Aladdin with the magic carpet that's hanging on the wall and the lantern down below. There are a couple of these suits of armor that are set up, and they are identical. There are also a couple of torches that are kind of angled out from the walls very nicely. Back here are some coats of arms that are up on the wall, and those use shield pieces with some stickers that are applied. So those are not printed shields. Some shield pieces that LEGO does like that are printed, but these are actually using stickers. However, the face of the grandfather's clock there is printed, so that is nice. And this was a very nice build. It's in a good scale, and it's actually angled at about a 45-degree angle, so use some tiles and jumpers to get it in there, and that is once again roughly 7, maybe this time about 8 minutes before the stroke of midnight. This floor is so large that there's plenty of space to pose all kinds of figures, more than are included with the set, and there's pretty decent access. You can get your hands back in here, so you can really set up some nice scenes. Now here's the mezzanine area that I showed you before. As you can see, it's much easier to get access to it and to have a look at it with most of the castle removed. And this is a reference to the Brave movie with the target there, which is actually a printed piece. And they've got a few of those little biscuits that the three brothers were always going after. And that's a new exclusive print as well. With the removable section of the castle returned to its rightful position, here's the kitchen that's inspired by the Cinderella story, complete with the pumpkin to convert into her carriage temporarily. This is actually a jack-o'-lantern headpiece that's just turned away from you so you don't see the face, so it looks like just a regular pumpkin. Lots of small details in here and accessories with all the bottles and the glasses, knives. You know, we've got a couple of pans that are actually on a shelf down below here. And then you've got the bricked in oven and stove kind of area, which has enough space to put a pot or two up on the ledge there. This is some storage for some food. So there are a couple of franks in there, as well as a carrot. And it's difficult to see, but way back beneath there's just a little bit of hint of fire, because there's actually just a little bit of orange color behind a grate sort of detail. The next room over is all about the Beauty and the Beast references, with the rose over there on the right, the nice curtains coming down around the sides of the window, and then this is a candlestick over here which represents Lumiere. The next section over is just a spire, so it's not enough space to put a full room in there, but they made this spire removable so you can actually pick this up, and inside of here is some secret storage areas. So here's a glass slipper for Cinderella, and that's a nice build. It's small, simple. You could actually kind of put it on a figure. There's one other thing that's also stored in here. I love these newer styles of Lego books. That's an exclusive print on the front there, showing the silhouette of the castle, and you can open this up. That's also a print, so it's the start of a fairy tale. Moving up to the next level, this is all about Fantasia right here, with the spell book and also the wizard's hat. Unfortunately, this will fit onto a regular Lego minifig head, but it will not fit onto the Mickey Mouse figure that's included with this set. That was a real letdown for me. I do like these mops. That's a recolor of that mop headpiece into tan. Originally it was just done in light gray, and then there are a couple of buckets for this scene. In this small cove here is Sleeping Beauty's spinning wheel. This is just super obvious. As soon as you see it, you know exactly what it is. That's a good mark of a good build. At the top of the middle spire of the castle is a grand bedroom. This looks very, very nice, but unfortunately it is very, very small. Too small even to accommodate one single figure on the bed. You see how the scale of things really changes up here, and it just becomes too compact. This tiny attic-like space has a chest in it, and behind there you'll notice two stud shooters. Those are the ones that I showed you from the front that are used for the fireworks. This is Cinderella's chest, and inside of it, a pair of scissors, a hairbrush, and what Lego has previously used as a hairpiece, like a top knot kind of piece or a ponytail. But this is actually supposed to represent, I believe, the fabric that's shown in the scene in the original Cinderella movie. It's kind of coming out of the chest like this just after the mice present the gown to her that they've made. The final detailed space is from Snow White, and this is the magic mirror on the wall with an actual mirrored sticker there that works. And here's the poisoned apple from that story. That leaves just the topmost lookout of the tower, and this is where I previously put Mickey Mouse to show you from the front. Now you can see how it just has enough space to accommodate one single figure. But wait, there is just one more Disney reference built into this castle. Actually, I should say built onto this castle. So all the way out here on the outside around the rocks at the base, there are two frogs. And one of those frogs has a crown. That may be the Frog Prince himself. Here's a closer look at the first 4 minifigures in this set. 3 of these are exclusive to this set. Donald is not. And I think that these are incredibly collectible, very iconic versions of the outfits, with Mickey over there with the tuxedo. That's a new cut of a tuxedo tail piece there. It's just a single piece of cloth that you fold around. All of these just have great printing on them. They look really good. The only thing that I think is a little bit off is the white stripe on each arm for Minnie Mouse, because it ends, doesn't go all the way around the front and the back. So you can kind of see that the dual molded arms there have the separation between the red and the black that is not covered up by the white print. For the sake of comparison, here are the 2 Disney Series 1 collectible minifigure blind bag mystery pack versions of Mickey and Minnie. So the same parts except for the missing cloth piece for Mickey, but different prints that make them exclusive prints and colors. Here's a similar comparison of the ducks with the two from this current set here on the left and the two from the collectible minifigure series over here on the right. Notice even the bow is a different color for Daffy and the shoes, but Donald is absolutely identical between these two, so they didn't change anything out there. Do hit pause on the video if you want to see this a little bit more carefully for longer. I'm not going to spend much more time on it. This is Tinkerbell's first appearance as a regular, real, official LEGO minifigure. She has a brand new, unique, exclusive hairpiece. We may end up seeing that used again, or we may not. I'm not sure just yet. But she has also an interesting face. It has just a little bit different style to it than normal LEGO minifigures. I feel like it's going for something just a little bit more realistic with the proportions. The skirt piece wraps around, and the official instructions for it have it meeting together in the back, which gives good coverage all the way around. That's a good use there. Let me also take off these wings temporarily. Now you can see the print on the back of the torso and the fact that she has no alternate face for the head. It's just too bad and kind of strange that they didn't include a Cinderella with this set, given that it is Cinderella's castle. Now, obviously this is a very expensive set. However, the price to part ratio on it is extraordinarily low, especially when you consider how many large pieces are included in the bottom half of this castle, and when you consider how many new and exclusive prints and part recolors were brought out for this set, and when you consider that 4 of the 5 figures are exclusive as well. So it's extraordinarily easy to argue that objectively you get what you pay for with this set. Subjectively, well, of course that's subjective. So that's it for my overview of this set. Now I want to get down to some of the nitty-gritty details like I mentioned earlier on. First of all, I want to highlight these entranceway lantern builds. There are 2 of them, one on either side, and they are really, really cool. Some of the coolest things to me as a LEGO builder in this entire set. They're simple, they're small, but they're pretty fantastic. Made possible by some recolored parts. So the main frame of this is an upside down, recolored Witch King crown piece from Lord of the Rings. And it also uses a tap down at the base, which is colored in reddish brown right here. And like I said, there are 2 of those. I just think they are brilliant little builds. Really nice uses of those parts. I got some of those parts in their original color myself, knowing that they could be used for something clever. And LEGO beat me to the punch. This is really good. I also wanted to give you a little bit better look and a longer, slower look at this printed panel piece. That is a 1x6x5 panel piece, so it's hollow on the opposite side, but it is a repeating pattern. So if you manage to get multiples of these, you can create a whole wall and it would just continue on. While I'm here, there are lots of these unicorn horn pieces used in the set. Officially, 37 of them are included, and they're used for all of these small spire and spike elements all throughout. And I think they look really good, and they're used in different ways with different building techniques, but they really add to the finer details of the whole thing. And there's also just a little bit better and longer look at the exclusive printed clock, the main one on the front. I also wanted to take another look at one of these turrets. I think that these were probably some of the most difficult and tricky things to design. They're not that difficult to build thanks to the excellent instructions. These are done in small sections, so this is one kind of sub-assembly here, this is another, and they basically alternate in their styles and how they are attached. These ones right here, starting with this one and then every other one going around, are attached fairly straightforward with just studs on the side construction. These here have to be placed in at an angle in between, so they're actually at a 45-degree angle, and each one is ultimately connected with just a single stud attaching it to the base, and then there are tiles around the edges to give it space to fit in there. And it really has these really small gaps. Those fit in there so tightly. Almost looks like there's some sort of round or octagonal element used on the inside, but there's not. It's all just bricks and plates and jumpers. This is probably my least favorite part of the model here, where you have all the windows behind the bedroom, just because you can see the back of the headboard and also especially those drapes up above the bed. It's a very distinct, very contrasting color with the magenta there. And depending upon how the light hits it, that can really stand out and attract your eye in not a good way. There are two places on the model where this particular building strategy is employed, using these arched window pieces that are just placed very close to each other. They're supposed to represent a curved surface going around this way. It's not curved at all, and if you look at it up close, you can see that there are gaps up top, and you can just imagine cutting straight through this horizontally and looking at a cross section of it. You know that you would basically see a plus sign there. But from a distance, because of how well they've blended things in with the round plates and also the sloped pieces around there, it doesn't bother me at all. It actually looks like it fits right in. So that's a nice use of kind of a scale effect and a little bit of, trickery of the eyes. It just works out pretty nicely. And the other place that they use this is up top. Once again, it looks plenty rounded to me until you get up really close to it. Getting up closer still in that same area, I wanted to point out an interesting place where the Lego designer may technically fall afoul of Lego's own internal design rules for what we consider to be legal building techniques. These rules exist to make sure that customers can put together sets consistently so everybody ends up with the same finished product, and to make sure that parts will not be stressed when they're put together, to make sure that they are put together in methods that they're intended and designed to accommodate so that they don't fail over time. Technically speaking, these vertically oriented modified plates here don't really have enough space to fit where they are placed right now, by virtue of just the height of the Lego logo that is molded into the tops of these studs of these horizontal plates here. And that actually does make a difference. It may seem like a terrible nitpick by me, but I'm not being terrible, I'm not being unreasonable there, because Lego has a rule about that, because normally this would prevent this entire upper structure from fitting onto those plates the way that it should. Inside of there is a 4x4 brick, and the way that this is done, it should not be able to fit all the way down, and that's actually not a good thing, and it's not a thing that Lego would allow. However, in this case, the way that these are attached, these plates, they're attached onto the little 3/4 pin pieces. I'll go ahead and pull one of these off so you can see what's behind there. And there is a little bit of play in that piece right there that allows it to move around. That actually gives enough space for this modified plate to hover just above. So it's not putting pressure onto those Lego logos, so you're able to put this entire assembly all the way down. It's an interesting little bypassing of a potential design issue. Now, I know a lot of people dislike this kind of dollhouse style design in structures from Lego, where everything is completely open from one side, and I completely understand that. A lot of us would like to be able to see a full exterior structure. If nothing else, have it kind of clamshell. If you have to have an interior, have the exterior go all the way around both sides and then be able to open it up. Of course, that would probably double the size of this set and also its costs, so that would be very, very prohibitive. But within this design style, Lego, I feel, still messes up sometimes by not leaving enough room for figures to really be posed around doing things inside of there. They do a lot of this not just for the looks, but also for play value for kids. And if kids can't actually play with the figures, that's not such a good thing. Here, they have not made that mistake at all. There is plenty of room to place figures on every single level, except for just that bed. Yeah, I do wish that the bed had some more room, but beyond that, I'm able to put lots of figures down here, multiple figures at this level, multiple figures at this level, Even in these smaller spaces, you can still put figures all the way up to the top. There are small balcony areas, and you saw the whole mezzanine. That's a whole area. I mean, you could put probably 2 full series of official Lego Disney minifigures all around this castle and still have some open space. While I really appreciate the diagonal tiling that's used in the lobby here, I don't like the fact that you have to step down into it. It creates kind of a pit area in there. However, it would have been extraordinarily difficult to avoid that and to actually bring the diagonal tiling all the way out to the edges, or to have a better interface between the diagonal and standard building techniques. There's just too much strange shaping around the edges here, and there are too many things that have to connect and provide support, so I think they really did the best they could here. I passed over this vase pretty quickly, but I feel like it really deserves more screen time because it looks absolutely fantastic to me personally. It's a very nice build, a very legal, very proper Lego build with I believe it's a 6.6 long bar going through the center with a stopper. These discs, these 2x2 discs, are painted. I believe they're tan on the inside. It's just paint on the outside. That's one of my favorite colors of gold. I think that Lego just has a really good hue there. That is a ring piece that's used as a minifigure accessory. That's actually chrome gold. And there's also a hollow stud used up at the top here, which is just in pearl gold. So 3 different golds used here, but all to good effect. I feel like this is the best example that I've seen of all 3 of those tones of gold actually used in one single thing. And this just stands on its own, not just literally, but mostly figuratively. This grandfather clock makes good use of striping techniques as well, with these brackets used and just continuing the black line all the way around. Also up here, it doesn't continue across the top. That's one thing that maybe is missing a bit, but it's just limited in the scale, I think. But this is another really nice looking build. It's also interesting that that robot arm on the inside can be made to go back and forth. If there was just a little bit less friction there, you could maybe even make it swing on its own for a little bit. And of course, again, this is a new printed tile piece. It's exclusive. It's used for the face. And that was a very nice use, a very generous use of that little bit of budget that they had for new parts and prints. I think this Lumiere build deserves a second look as well, with its main piece that kind of holds the whole thing together being a water monitor, a firefighting nozzle piece. And that's put into a vertical orientation by virtue of this relatively new part right here, which just has so many uses. It's always great when Lego introduces something new and small that can be used for adapting things in different ways. Lego designers have been having a lot of fun using these tail pieces. It's a Unikitty tail piece, and this is an exclusive print. It's printed on both sides for this set here, but just another clever use of an interesting part. Here's another building technique that I really enjoyed while I was putting this together. It's just the use of half stud spacing, offset spacing. They just put stud pieces down in here to use them kind of as adapters to basically turn them into jumpers. Just allows you to go from odd to even spacing, and it looks really good from the outside. You almost don't notice that those little dark gray studs are in there. One last thing I wanted to show better for those of you who've stuck around this long is how the upper part, mostly the tan part of the castle, is attached to the mostly gray base. It just has a bunch of tiles and jumpers down there. And as a result, it's very easy with how stiff the whole assembly is. It's very easy to just pull that off. You can see the jumpers are all 2x2 jumpers, which I believe have even less grip than the 1x2s tend to have. It just fits on there very easily. As a result of that, though, because of how easy it is, you probably don't want to move the entire castle together. You always want to take this upper part off because of how tall it is and how little friction there is there. It can actually kind of break itself off pretty easily when you don't want it to. You can also detach this upper section if you want to be even more safe about it, or to make it easier to transport this if you move or something like that, or move rooms. See, all of this can be removed thanks to a similar system. Plenty of tiles and jumpers are used on the top, and that just gives you 3 complete sub-assemblies. If you're still watching the video, I am shocked and surprised, but thankful, and I hope that you've enjoyed this extra look at some of the smaller, finer details with more of my casual thoughts about it. Some folks want more detail and to hear more of what I think in these reviews, and some just want to get through it as quickly as possible, so I hope that I've accommodated both groups. Now it's time for me to stop talking though, and to hand things over to you for you to share what you think about this set by leaving a comment on the video down below. Thanks in advance for your feedback, and thank you for your time, whether you've watched the entire video or just skipped through. I've got a lot more to build, so I'm going to continue working. I'll be talking to you again very soon.